What if the year that broke you was not meant to destroy you, but to finally reach the places nothing else could? Listen closely, because if this year has left you exhausted, disappointed, or quietly numb, you are not weak for feeling this way. You are human, and you are not alone. You didn't plan for this year to unfold like it did. You didn't wake up asking for loss. You didn't pray for confusion. You didn't invite the silence, the delays, the unanswered questions. Yet here you are, carrying weight you never trained for, smiling when you wanted to rest, holding faith with trembling hands. Some days you asked God why it felt like everything was being taken at once. Your confidence, your peace, your sense of direction, even parts of yourself you thought were solid. And the hardest part wasn't the pain. It was the feeling that heaven was quiet while your heart was loud. But hear this gently. God saw every tear you hid, every prayer you whispered instead of spoke, every moment you kept going when quitting felt easier. This year didn't break you because you were fragile. It pressed you because you were carrying things that no longer fit where God is taking you. There are seasons where God comforts, and there are seasons where God confronts. This was not punishment. This was preparation. Scripture says in Psalm 34:19, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all." Notice it does not say some afflictions. It says many. Even David, chosen, anointed, favored, spent years running, hiding, losing, and questioning before he ever wore the crown. God did not abandon him in the cave. God shaped him there. And maybe that's what this year has been for you. A cave season, hidden, uncomfortable, stripping away what depended on comfort instead of faith. You lost things that once defined you, and that scared you. But God was never interested in your titles. He was interested in your foundation. Some of what broke was never meant to go with you into the next season. Some relationships ended because they could not survive where God is elevating you. Some dreams collapsed because they were too small for what He is building now. You didn't just feel pain. You felt exposure. The masks came off. The distractions stopped working. The noise faded. And suddenly, you were face to face with questions you had been avoiding for years. Who am I without this? What do I trust when control is gone? Will God still be good if nothing changes? These are holy questions. Painful but holy. In Isaiah 48:10, God says, "I have refined you, but not as silver. I have tested you in the furnace of affliction." Refinement is never gentle, but it is always intentional. Fire doesn't ask permission before it burns, but it reveals what is real. This year burned away false strength, the kind that relied on people, the kind that depended on outcomes, the kind that worked only when life felt predictable. And yes, it hurt, deeply. But something else happened too. You learned how to pray when words failed, how to stand when answers didn't come, how to keep your heart soft in a hard season. You may not see it yet, but endurance has been forming quietly inside you. Not the loud kind of strength, the kind that survives. There are victories God cannot give you without first giving you depth. There are callings that would crush you if you entered them unchanged. So God let this year humble you, slow you, empty you, not to shame you, but to make room. And even now, when you feel unsure, heaven is not confused about you. God is not asking you to understand the season. He is asking you to trust Him inside it. Because what feels like breaking is actually God loosening what would have broken you later. And this is not where the story ends. Something is already shifting beneath the surface, quietly, faithfully, and you are closer than you think. And while you were wondering if anything was changing at all, God was already moving in ways you could not see. This is where the story turns, because the same God who allowed the breaking is the God who never wastes a single tear. God is aligning you right now, even if it feels like nothing is lining up. What felt like delay was actually divine repositioning. Scripture says in Proverbs 16:9, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." Joseph planned for favor, not a prison. Yet it was the prison that aligned him with the palace. God used betrayal to move him closer to purpose. And in the same way, this year rerouted you, not away from destiny, but directly into it. God is preparing you with endurance you didn't know you needed. Not the kind of strength that shows off, but the kind that holds on. In James 1:24, we are told that trials produce perseverance, so that we may be mature and complete, lacking nothing. Moses didn't learn leadership in the palace. He learned it in the wilderness, tending sheep, unseen and overlooked. And maybe this year felt small, repetitive, or lonely, because God was teaching you how to stay faithful when applause is gone. God is healing your dependence on outcomes. You used to measure peace by progress, joy by answers, faith by results. But Habakkuk 3:17-18 declares joy, even when the fields are empty and the harvest fails. That kind of faith cannot be built in comfort. It is forged when praise becomes a choice, not a reaction. This year trained your heart to trust God for who He is, not just for what He gives. God is separating you from what could not go with you. Some losses were not accidents. Some endings were mercy in disguise. In Genesis, Abraham had to leave familiar land before God showed him the promise. Not because the land was evil, but because it was limiting. God let some things fall apart because they were quietly holding you back. And yes, it hurt. But separation always precedes elevation. God is awakening a deeper authority in you. Not loud, not aggressive, but grounded. Jesus Himself learned obedience through suffering. Scripture tells us in Hebrews 5:8. If the Son of God was shaped through pain, why would your calling be different? This year taught you how to stand without validation, how to obey without clarity, how to believe without proof. Now listen carefully. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not broken beyond repair. God has been working behind the scenes where you could not follow, arranging conversations you haven't had yet, opening doors you're not ready to walk through yet, protecting you from outcomes you once begged for. What felt like God stepping back was actually God stepping in quietly. This season will become your testimony, not because it was easy, but because it didn't end you. One day you will look back and realize the strength you walk in was born right here. In the waiting, in the confusion, in the year that tried to take your hope but couldn't. So if you're still tired, breathe. If you're still healing, rest. If you're still unsure, trust. You don't need to rush the rebuilding. God is not late, and neither are you. Say this with me, slowly and softly. God is not finished with me. What broke me will build me, and I will rise with wisdom, not haste. May peace settle your heart tonight. May hope return where exhaustion has lived. May you feel God's nearness even when answers are delayed. And if this message spoke to you, stay close. There is more strength being forged, more truth unfolding, and more light ahead than you can see right now. This is just the beginning here within the Forge Within.